Last episode, we talked about firing, the decision you knew you needed to make but kept avoiding. Today, we're talking about the other side of that coin, hiring. Specifically, the moment you know you need to make a hire to unlock the next chapter of growth, but you just can't bring yourself to pull the trigger. We're going to explore that and more here on The Story of Scale. Welcome back to The Story of Scale. If you missed the last episode, we all talked about these defining moments in the life of a business owner or founder or entrepreneur when you've got to make the decision that we knew for a while we needed to make, and that was letting someone go. It sucked. Not the episode, the moments that we talked about. Yeah. But we can't have a conversation without these. We talked about how brutal the word firing is. We can't have a conversation without firing, without a conversation around hiring. So in this episode, we're talking about kind of the other side of the coin, because if we're going to tell the story of scale, if we're going to live a story worth scaling, if we're going to succeed at scaling a company, we're going to have to hire the right people. Yeah. And here's what this episode is not. This is not designed to be a complete beginning to end course on all of the mistakes that you have to watch out for when you're hiring someone. But it's really about the need to acknowledge the reality this is something that you have to do, and that there's some certain mindsets that we have to have if we're going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think of, I started my agency and my marketing agency that was doing probably about $400,000 or $500,000 at the time. And it was just me and a VA. And I knew I needed to make that next hire. Yep. And I hired a woman. She had worked with me at Thomas Nelson, so I knew her track record, I knew her work ethic, all of it. And I made her, and it was I guess it was a Saturday, and I made her the offer on Friday, and she had accepted it on Friday. I had a buddy in from out of town, and he doesn't come in town very often. He's from Oregon, and we are at Frothy Monkey down in 12 South, and what to me felt like 2 minutes, he told me was 45 minutes, and he let me kind of just sit there, and I was sitting there in silence, and he stopped, and he's like, "Dude, what's going on?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" I'm just like, "We just ordered food, we're waiting for our food." He's like, "Dude, your food's been here for 30 minutes.
Wow. And
I'm like, "Are you serious?" It was like, and I got fully present in that moment. Yeah. What was really going on in my head was like, oh shit. I just hired this person. I'm paying her $125,000. That's, 25% of my gross revenue at the time. And I'm now responsible for her. And in my head, it was a $125,000 decision. It wasn't a $10,000 a month decision, right? Because I thought about it in that moment, it was a $10,000 a month decision. It's like, oh, I can make that money. Easy, figure that out. She's going to easily bring $10,000 of value to the business, all of it. But that was my first ever hire, was my own money. I'd hired a lot of people before, but it was with someone else's money. This was the first time it was real. It was my money. It was like, the bank account's going to be $10,250 less next month, and it's going to her, and it was scary. I didn't start small. I went pretty big. People at the time would tell me, probably that wasn't the best, but I look back and we scaled to 2 million in 18 months, and I couldn't have done it without her. Yeah. She was the right hire. Yep. She was the opposite of what she was process driven, operational. She didn't want to be the visionary. She didn't want, but she was like, if you tell me what to do, I'll go do it, and I'll even make it better. And, little did I know, the visionary operator kind of role. But I was the visionary, she was the operator, and we worked really, really well together. And I look back and I'm so grateful, one, for my friend to kind of give me that space. Yeah. Because I look back and I'm like, what lies was I telling in my head? How much story was happening in my head for 45 minutes that really freaked me out? And if he wasn't there that weekend, what would I have done? Yeah. Would I have just not left bed, and then Monday morning comes out, put my 2 feet on the ground and act like nothing's wrong, right? But I was able to process and kind of talk it through. And at the time, he's a videographer. He was a solopreneur. He was probably doing 200 or 300K, and it helped him. Looking back, he ended up building a film business that's doing $2.5-3 million a year. And he really kind of helped me talk off the ledge. And for me, the big thing was it's real easy to think about that big number, 125,000. But especially in my type of work, I mean, we were a monthly retainer type business. It's like, oh, if I just get another $10,000 a month retainer, that pays for her,
Sure.
all of it. That's totally fine. Granted, you can't keep making like if that's how you make decisions for hiring, you're eventually going to cut into your margins and not make money. So I'm not saying that's the best, but it would have helped me mentally be able to like, oh, like what it did was, oh, like I can make that, or I can, maybe it's 30 grand to make me feel good about 10 grand and hiring someone. But she was worth her weight in gold in that. So I'm curious kind of when I think about hiring, what's that one maybe hiring moment or story that you think of? I mean, you just hired a new COO to your team.
Yeah. I think there are two moments specifically that come to mind, because what we're really talking about here, just like in the firing conversation in the last episode, what we're talking about is the business owner out there who is ready to scale. And whether you're ready to start trying to scale or you're in a scale season and you know you've got to make a hire to unlock that next chapter of growth. But again, you just don't have the courage or the mindset to make the investment. For me, I think there's two stages to that. One is hiring your very first employee, right? That's a big deal. And it feels like a massive amount of risk because of the commitment that you're talking about. And then second, I think there's another layer to that. And this is the one that just happened for me that you referenced is, okay, now I've hired a bunch of people throughout the years, but hiring the person, like the real premium, like a C-suite, because I'm hiring at $150,000 level. I've never hired anybody at that level. I think the most expensive salary package in total that I've ever given out is like, well, no, I take that back. I've hired a few people kind of in that 90s range, like $96,000 a year. But 150 just feels like a completely different level. And that required a very different mindset because I was so nervous. So yeah, new COO, just brought them on, and that was really scary. But I had an epiphany. I realized this is one of the few times that I've ever succeeded at getting over myself and hiring someone who is not just like a little bit better than me at that particular thing. Every other person before this, it's like, I need to buy back some of my time and get someone who's better at this than I am. But I've always been able to do that person's job, right? So it's not that the person who's leading marketing for us isn't better than me at marketing. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not like, that might sound arrogant. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that before that, we were at least succeeding because I handled the job of marketing. I don't enjoy admin, but we heard in the first couple of episodes, my parents made me do it when I was 12, right? So I can do it if I have to. The CEO position that I was hired for is completely different. It's not even remotely close to me buying back my time or getting someone who's a little bit better than I am. It's getting someone who is quite literally about to do something that I have never done at this scale. And that feels really scary. So whether it's your first employee or the first like C-suite level, because of the dollar amount, I think both of those are the scariest. And I can think of a couple other versions of hiring people.
Well, let me camp out there, because I think one of the things that I hear is, why that person's so expensive and why it's also so scary, and why I think it's going to be different and unlock something so much greater for you right now is that he's going to come in and execute your vision.
Yes.
Whereas before, you still always had to execute your vision. And that's not to say anything bad about other, it's like, but you still had to be like, kind of tell people what to do. Whereas now it's like someone's gonna. This is where it becomes so fun as a founder, and where like you have to, if you're going to scale, you have to find someone that can help you execute your vision, not someone that's gonna fight you about your vision. That relationship will go haywire if that person starts to challenge your vision. Unless there's a ton of trust and rapport, and we can have that conversation, and that's gonna happen at some. But like, there's a tasteful way to do it, and there's a way to do it. But someone that's going to come in and say, okay, I would know where Harris wants to go in 3 and 5 years. And this is what we're chewing off of the apple this year. And I'm going to take the troops into battle. And Harris gets to go like be Harris and start to do the things for 3 to 5 years from now. Whereas you haven't been able to do that. It's just been pie in the sky. And it's like, if we can get there while I'm also doing this thing and not only sharing vision, but executing vision. And I look at that and if you're a founder CEO that's in that $1 million to $4 million range and you don't have this person, it's the most important person you need to hire right now. And so
why didn't you tell me this like 5 years ago?
I don't know. Sorry.
He probably tried to tell me this 5 years ago, and I just didn't listen because I didn't have the perspective yet to be able to acknowledge the wisdom in what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I think that's the big unlock. It's not your typical first hire. I kind of did both, and I didn't know any better. It's not what I would recommend, probably. But in that nature of that, one of the other one that I see that's hard for people is when the founder is the primary salesperson, and you as the founder are selling maybe 100% or 60 to 80%. You have all the reasons why you're the only person that can sell, or I've hired someone, it hasn't worked. Typically you hired someone that was a friend. You didn't actually build out a job description. You didn't really set them up for success. It's one of the things that I love to do is help someone come in and say, okay, what's the secret sauce? Because 80% of every sales process is about the same. There's about 20% that you, the founder, has. You've got this special secret sauce. You've got this charisma. You've got this network. Leads just come to you because people trust you. You've been out there. And so that's always a hard position to hire, is that first salesperson as well. And so that's something that we'll talk through a little bit more. It's probably more in depth, but I see that those two are kind of unlocks, especially in that scale. Once you get above 1 million, you can't still sit in the operator seat. You can't still sit in the visionary seat.
Yeah.
You can't still sit in the sales seat. You've got to choose which seat you're going to sit in.
Yeah, so good. The thing that I often bump into with the types of business owners we're working with is just like a VA, EA. Totally. You've got to get admin off your plate. It's the easiest way for you to buy back your time. 100%. And I would encourage everyone to think through, and I'm curious your take on this, think through quote unquote hiring through a bigger lens than just I'm bringing on an employee. We're talking about more than just part-time, full-time. We're talking about a potential business partner. Way before I hired my first full-time employee, I went out and got a manager. Like when I took on a management company, that was me hiring someone. The compensation was based on like a percentage. Revenue coming in. And so that was a safer way for me to quote unquote bring on an entire team at the offset, because back then my business was cyclical. Yep. I'd go on tour for 3 months, make a few $100,000, but then I might be home for 60 days and make zero. And so that was a safe way for me to only pay somebody when I was making money.
Do you miss being home 60 days and not doing anything?
What? That's not part of my life anymore.
I was going to say.
But also like there are ways to buy back your time and like build a quote unquote team. Like, gosh, like half the founders listening in may not even have a housekeeper. Like get someone to help you out around the house. And so many people have a hard time letting that kind of stuff go, but it's like hours that they're spending at home. And so I think what we're talking about here is not, here's the perfect blueprint on how to go make the perfect hire. We acknowledge that at the beginning. What we're talking about is this mentality of investing in the business to make scale possible at different levels.
And the things that you're not good at.
Correct.
Like if you were a really good operator,
you
need to hire someone that's with a different skill set.
Correct.
You can't hire yourself. And that's what typically ends up happening is a lot of people hire themselves.
Yep.
Sometimes their first hire. And that's not the right thing to do.
Yeah. So Steve Jobs hired Tim Cook, and now Steve is gone. And who's Tim Cook supposed to hire? Because clearly the vision is gone.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that say Steve would be rolling over his grave if you saw what Apple turned out to be. But what's amazing is if you look at Apple, like I think I saw something, it's like they'd have 5 of the top 10 products, gross revenue wise.
Yeah.
If you separated them out, like the AirPods. The watch, they own the watch world, they own the headphones world, they own the computer world, they own the tablet world, like they own the phone. Like it's pretty, I mean, for being a boring company, they're doing all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's what's also amazing though, is like the innovation that Steve and Johnny Ive had to create all those things. Like they haven't really created anything since.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah.
Which is a great segue, ironically, into kind of like one last thing I would throw into this conversation. And that is this, I go back to our last conversation around firing. It's like one of those fears that creeps in before you let someone go, even though you know you should, is that fear of like, what if I can't replace them? Or what if I don't have the ability to recruit the right people? Or what if this is like, no one's ever going to want to come work? at the end of the day, people are drawn to vision. Mm-hmm. And I think people who are going to succeed at scaling have to have a clear vision that they're pursuing.
Totally.
And when we joke around about Apple, half joking, half serious, it's like they're losing lots of talent right now to other companies.
Yep.
And yet, who can afford to keep talent? I would assume Apple. Okay, so like clearly the reason they're losing talent is not a compensation issue. Apple could afford to pay them more to retain that talent, which means there's some reason that top talent is leaving to go somewhere else because they're not being challenged, and there's another vision somewhere else that feels more compelling.
Yep.
In other words, there's another story of scale that feels more inviting.
Totally.
And at the end of the day, when I think about hiring, whether you're bringing on someone commission-based, equity-based, part-time, full-time, whatever it is, one, you've got to have the courage to take the risk. That's what entrepreneurs sometimes do better than anyone else. It's one of the things that the people on our team will never be able to fully understand if they haven't been in that position. My team doesn't know what it feels like to go a month without getting their paycheck while they're working for us. I know what it feels like for them to get a paycheck and for me not to. And for me to take on some extra debt that month because I could pay them, but I couldn't pay me. Now, that's another whole issue. And we could probably have a conversation around that. Those days
Mike
are...
Calloway's has that figured out. Profit first,
the whole profits first thing fixes a lot of that. But one, you've got to have the courage. And two, as long as you have a story of scale worth telling and communicating and living out, the right people are going to come along at the right time.
You saying that brought up a story that was so powerful and reminded me. It was in Business Accelerator. We had a client. He ran a custom golf cart business. This was before golf carts blew up thanks to COVID. This would have been 2017, 2018. He was based in Florida. This big country bumpkin guy. He was a firefighter. This is kind of a side business. But it was super cool. It was like he was getting licenses to like replicate like cars, like real cars, but in golf cart form.
Cool.
He had reached a point. He was doing about 1.3, 1.4 million. It was him and just a bunch of guys in the shop. But he needed someone to run the business. And he was just like, he had all these limiting beliefs. Like he was a very big values guy, culture guy. He's like, I just can't find that, you know? And we took him through an exercise and we said, hey, write down what you like. And I think it's just important for anyone right now. Like, what is it that you want this person to embody? You know, not only like perform, but what do you want them to embody? What are the things that are going to like take the company to the next level, that if we're off your plate, that could free you up to do things that are more valuable for the business? Start to map that out. We did this for that guy. It unlocked. He ended up like, you know, he's in the middle of nowhere. He's like, this talent's not in my city. I'm not gonna be able to find this person, whatever. He put out a job ad, like in a freaking newspaper. This is 2018, 2017. He ended up getting like 30 applicants. And it was like emotionally driven. It was like, you know, it was story. He was sharing a story of what he was looking for. He ended up getting all these applicants, came down to 2 people. He couldn't decide, and he kept both. He hired both. The next quarter, so this was a business coaching program that came back quarterly. This big guy, 280, 6'4", he's telling us this story in tears.
Wow.
He got time back with his family. His business was on track to triple. And it was like all we did was help him unlock something that was already inside of him. And that's what I hope you out there are doing, is like that it's possible.
Yes.
And it doesn't, you know, all these limiting beliefs for the years of like, I don't have enough money, this person's going to suck me dry, like they're not going to do what I want them to do. All these things, that lies you're telling yourself, it's possible. I've seen it. Thousands of businesses do it. You know, granted, corporate is a different ballgame than the small business world, but they're doing it every day, all day. It's possible. That's how those companies scale, is they're literally hiring machines.
Yes.
You know?
And I mean, if we think back to our pricing conversation, this idea of we invest at a higher level, it forces us to show up differently. It's honest to God truth. The week after I hired the new COO, and I'm just like, that's so much money. I had $100,000 sales week, the literal following week. And at the end of the day, I was standing in the kitchen talking to my wife, and I was just like, dang, like what? I don't know what get into me. She's like, you just got scared out of your mind.
Then your back's against the wall. Back into a corner.
So I told Shane that, and he was just like, hey man, let's go hire some more people. Yeah, but you really, it is possible, yes. And sometimes it's possible because it has to be.
Yeah.
And you get to find out what you're truly made of. And so it's that leap of faith that oftentimes, it's like the investment often comes before the breakthrough. We're all waiting for the breakthrough so that we can then feel safe to invest.
Totally.
That's just not what entrepreneurs do.
Yeah. And I do think it's important to go hire, I kind of talked about is like really document what you want that person to do.
Yeah.
It's only fair to them to help them get clear.
For sure.
We could talk through onboarding and all of it. You want them to embody your culture. And so it's really important to have a really clear job description and, interview to that and share them with expectations, give them the scoreboard of what success looks like in 30, 60, 90 days. There's a book, great, your first 90 days. It's one of the best books. I have every employee read it. It's the trick, is have every employee read your first 90 days, because what it does is it puts the onus on them is here's what I'm going to do in the first 90 days to make sure that you keep me. And so every time it's like, okay, what are you learning? What are you working on? What's the thing, granted, I still have the plan, but that person, it's like, that's a big takeaway is like, have every new hire read your first 90 days. Because what it's doing is it's like, how do I become indispensable in this organization in 90 days?
Yeah.
And the book is fantastic for new hires.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're watching on YouTube, we'll link to that book down below in the description. If you're listening on a podcast platform, we'll put it in the show notes. Check that out, your first 90 days.
Yep.
All right. Look, I know this episode could be tons of tip after tip after tip. As we, said in one of the other episodes, we're in the imagination age now, all about the currency of wisdom. This isn't the information age. If you want to know how to build a job description, that's not what you're going to hear on this podcast. ChatGPT, go Google it, have a 30-second conversation with your favorite AI tool, and it's going to give you some tips on that. But the stuff that no one's talking about or not enough people are talking about is what we're talking about in this episode. It just like deep down when you need to make the decision to let someone go, deep down that you need to make some changes when it comes to increasing your team. And so whether it's your first hire, your 15th hire, or your first real hire at a real number that is going to be the game changing. It's not just another team member that's going to be you buying back some of your time, but this is the one that's going to truly move the needle of growth and your story of scale. Make the decision and go after them and let us know what you do.
Love it. Can't wait to hear the stories.
Yeah, send us stories. All right, let's remind people of email addresses again. Because this is a pretty organic show. We're not like out trying to sell like the story of scale mastermind or anything like that. You're regularly helping clients. We're regularly helping clients. People obviously can get in touch with us pretty
love
easily.
To hear. My email is just chad@chadwickcannon.com. I personally still have that. I have a VA, but I still do my email. It's not one of those I see my email as an opportunity inbox.
Same.
So I want to use it for that. So chad@chadwickcannon.com. Let's start a conversation. Would love to hear how you're using what we're sharing, what's inspiring you, what you're getting clear on. If you've got further questions, we're here. Would love to answer any questions or hear kind of your story.
Yeah, same. Harris@Istoria.com. It's Harris@Istoria.com. We'd love your feedback. Are you enjoying the show? Are you enjoying these topics? What are you getting out of this? And what stories of scale is it leading you? Are they leading you to live out? It's pretty cool. So we'd love to hear kind of what's going on. But more importantly, this is going to sound funny when I say it this way, like don't waste our time. More importantly, don't waste your time.
Yeah.
It's so easy to like plug in some headphones or press play on the drive and you're driving down the road. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh man, yeah, they're right. I do need to make that hire. I do need to let that person go. And then 6 months go by, a year go by, you're back to the next piece of content. You're back to the same story. Like, guys, do stuff with this. And so if you find yourself sensing something right now, make the decision, have the courage, go follow through and take action. And you taking your action is going to give you an ROI on the time spent listening to this conversation. Yep. And it's certainly, like for us, we're the kind of people like that makes it all worth it.
100%.
The investment of time for us to pause our businesses and take the time away from our teams to sit down and have conversations in service for you. That's what makes it worth it.
Absolutely.
It's worth it if you go do this stuff and actually apply it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Any closing thoughts before we wrap this one up?
I think hiring is the secret to unlocking the next season of growth when you hire the right person. And so you got to take time to think about what you want that person to be. You need to be honest about with yourself, with where you're lacking, what you could potentially give up to be able to do something bigger and better. I've never worked with someone that has truly scaled their business without being scared about the next hire. And payroll is typically the number one stressor. And bringing on a hire, whether it's your first VA, whether it's your first C-suite, it's not easy, but it's possible, and you've got to do it. If you're looking to have the impact and grow the business to where you want to go, you can do it.
Yeah. Around here, we're all about helping you live a story worth scaling. And when I think about that idea from the perspective of hiring, to me, that's what it all comes back to. People are going to want to join your team if you truly are living a story worth scaling. So cast the vision, tell people the story, the right people will come around you. Take the risk, go for it. All right, that's it for this episode. This is Story of Scale. Thanks for listening. See you next week.
The Story of Scale podcast is a production of the Istoria studio, recorded on location in Chattanooga, Tennessee at Socially You Studios. For more resources on how to not only scale your business, but live a story worth scaling, visit istoria.com/scale.